Welcome back. Sun's still up. Games are over. It's not even 8 o'clock yet. Night's over early, so it was a lot to keep up with. Thankfully, not every game had a lot of tension at the end of it. Heck, it didn't have a lot of tension at the start of it. So let's go ahead and start off with the reason I'm wearing a Montreal jersey. The Habs, they seem to do well with their time off. This is the way you want a team to come out of a break like this. Authoritative and decisive. And for the Oilers, of course, they might be a little bit tired on this road trip, and yet a lot of people expected Edmonton to win this tonight, and it just wasn't to be, and it was right out of the gate. The Habs scored. Kotkaniemi from Byron and Lehkonen at 18 seconds. They challenged it as offside. Now, the weird thing is you could tell it wasn't offside, but by last year's standards, it might have been, because the foot broke the plane, but his skate wasn't actually on the ice. So I was like, all right, so that might have been what they were thinking, which was, well, his foot is up, therefore he's offside. Doesn't matter. As long as your skate is over the line, you're onside. So it was pretty obvious that it was going to count. So it counts, and it causes a Habs power play. So Tatar gets a crossbar during the power play. It's barely killed off. It really is. Like Edmonton's just fighting it. And it's not long after it ends that at 3:23, Lehkonen scores. So that's a goal and an assist for him. Byron and Edmondson with the assists. And 4 minutes into this game, the shots are 6-0 and the score is 2-0 for Montreal. So they were focused. They knew what they wanted to do. And then Anderson had a fight with Lagesson. I didn't see that one coming. That's not a pairing I would have imagined for a fight. So that happens. The Habs get another power play. Koskinen denied Danault. Koskinen had a decent game, but again, the Habs just get to him. Gallagher would score from Weber and Danault at 15:59. The puck was laying there in the crease. Gallagher threw it in there, and that's a goal. And then they kept pushing for more. So it's 3-0 first period, and the Habs kept pushing. There was another power play for the Habs before the period's out. It was a dominant first period. Second period, the Oilers did get an early press. Doesn't last. They get a power play. That was just a giant no. They get another power play. Again, it was a no. The penalty kill by the Habs was very good. The Oilers scored. That one was challenged as offside, and it's offside. It doesn't count. So late in the period, Tatar, he gets one to make up for hitting the crossbar in the first. Danault and Gallagher with the assists at 17:54, and it's 4-0. Now, in the last minute, there was a press by the Oilers. They're not getting a lot of shots, though, during these presses because the Habs are keeping him to the outside. Suzuki had a break in that last minute, which drew a Habs power play. So we go into the third period. That would be killed off by the Oilers. The Habs press at 3 minutes and 30 seconds. But showing just how low risk this third period was by Montreal, the shots were only 2-0 for the Oilers at 9 minutes. The Oilers would get a power play late in this one, too. And that was the only thing that was in question was, so is Price going to get his 49th shutout? The answer was yes. Montreal wins this one 4-0. They go to 15-8-9. Edmonton drops to 22-14-1. The shots in this one favored Montreal the whole way through. 15-7 in the first, 10-4 in the second, 7-5 in the third. Final shots 32-16 in favor of Montreal. Power plays, Edmonton 0 for 3, Montreal 0 for 4. Hits, Edmonton 33-23 on that one. Block shots also favor Edmonton 18-8. 3 stars, Danault, Tatar, and Byron. Koskinen 28 saves on 32 shots. Price saved all 16 he faced for his 49th career shutout. So if you're a Montreal fan, this ticks a lot of boxes. You get a good game out of Price, a really good defensive effort, and you beat a team that you're looking up at in the standings. So now they move to 39 points in Montreal, and for the Oilers, they have 45. So the Oilers have to be careful too, because Montreal's not so far behind that with games in hand, they can't make things a lot more interesting than they might be right now. Montreal might be looking above them and saying, we can catch a couple of those teams. So, yeah, big comeback for Montreal. Next up, Boston. Man, was I angry during this game at points. And it's not that I'm angry because, New Jersey's doing well. It's just some boneheaded stuff going on and some poor defense by a team in Boston that can't afford to have poor defense because their offense has its issues. So there were early chances for the Bruins. However, Wood would score from Subban at 1 minute and 28 seconds. And then the Devils, they pressed at 4.5 minutes, and it looked like this game might go the Devils' way. However, Ritchie scores from Krejci and Smith at 5:55. Boys and girls, that is the first 5-on-5 goal scored all season by Boston against New Jersey, and this is in the 6th game against them, so it's kind of a big deal. The Bruins press at 9 minutes. However, the puck goes the other way, and McLeod scores from Kuokkanen and Murray at 9:34. Bergeron would try to answer. That was denied, and for the rest of that period, the Bruins were frustrated a lot by Blackwood. Blackwood had a very good game. Second period, the Bruins score, but goalie interference wiped that out, so it's no goal. And then New Jersey scores to make it 3-1. Zajac from Bratt and Murray at 3 minutes and 45 seconds. So, yeah, New Jersey's up 3-1. Wood then almost made it 4-1. It was really close, almost made it. Blackwood makes some saves. Things get scrummy at 9 minutes. Marchand ends up taking a penalty. Devils get a power play. Marchand, I thought, was both the good and the bad Marchand tonight. The good Marchand that he did generate a lot of offense. The bad Marchand, and then he ends up in the box. And just some lack of focus and some plays there. Subban had a point shot that was stopped, shorthanded. The Bruins had a 2-on-1. That was defended well by New Jersey. And then Marchand and Bratt had it was kind of a fight, but they called it roughing, so it was a 4-on-4 for 2 minutes. I don't know how many punches qualify as a fight. It's one of those weird things where I'm like, so that's a fight. Oh, no, that wasn't a fight. All right. Bruins then get a power play, and Marchand scores on the power play. So this is the good, the bad of Marchand in the same game. He scores from Bergeron and Krejci at 15:48. So that makes it a 3-2 game. But less than a minute and a half later, Palmieri scores. So again, that defense, their turnovers and issues like that, and it makes it 4-2. And then there were some late saves by Blackwood. So it's 4-2 New Jersey going into the third. I am fully expecting New Jersey to hold that lead because against Boston, they've been pretty good at that. Third period, some physical play, and the Bruins looked frustrated, which was part of what I thought might hurt them too. I thought, if New Jersey starts getting power plays because Boston's getting frustrated. The shots, though, were 7-1 for the Bruins at 5.5 minutes, and then they had some pressure at 8.5 as well. And Charlie McAvoy would eventually be rewarded for all that with a goal from Smith and Marchand at 10:22. So Charlie McAvoy's really picking up the offense now. The Bruins then get a power play, and they don't score on it. However, they really drove the play in that third period, and they got a ton of shots. Grzelcyk would end up scoring one from Smith and Krejci at 16 minutes. And then the Devils get a power play with 3:42 left. And this is where I know Boston ends up with the positive result, but there are just some issues with Boston out of this game that I hope don't bleed over into other games. The defensive miscues and some of the penalties they were taking late in this. Pastrnak was robbed in the final minute, and then we go to overtime. In overtime, McAvoy was denied. Lots of Bruins shots early on there, and then with 3:21 left, the Devils get a power play. They also call a timeout when they get that power play. And then there was a scary incident where Palmieri falls. I didn't see whose skate it was, but one of the Bruins had his skate up, like he had his toe down. So the blade is vertical to the ice, and Palmieri fell on that. And he got up and he kept checking for blood. And it's one of those incidents where it's like, that could potentially be horrible. And so I was very glad to see that he wasn't bleeding and that he stayed on the bench. At least if he was bleeding, it wasn't anything really bad. So we go to a shootout. And Boston somehow manages to win in a shootout. Halak was good in the shootout, and Coyle scored, and then Pastrnak scored. Pastrnak came into tonight with only 20% on the shootout, so which checks out. He's a Bruin. And the Bruins on shootouts last year, it was just a loss. Tonight it's a win. They go to 18-9-5. Have to feel fortunate in this that they came back and won it. New Jersey loses this one. They get a point out of it. They're 13-16-5. And New Jersey has to look at this as another game that gets away from them, right? 3 stars in this one, Marchand, Krejci, and Coyle. The shots favored Boston the whole way. 12-11 in the first, 13-12 in the second. So it was close. 19-9 in the third. And then in the overtime, they outshot them 4-3, despite having to kill off 2 minutes of a power play there. Final shots, 48-35 in favor of the Boston Bruins. Power plays, New Jersey 0 for 3, Boston 1 for 2. Hits, 24-22 for Boston. Block shots, 12-8 for New Jersey. Blackwood, 44 saves on 48 shots. Halak, 31 saves on 35 shots in the Boston net. And yeah, for Boston, they have to look at tonight and say, well, that was fortunate. And move along. And be glad that they don't have too many games left against New Jersey, because New Jersey's pretty good against them. All right, next up. So I'm not sure what happened to the Capitals here. They came out like a ball of fire, and then it turned. And a lot of it is that Shesterkin kid that we thought was going to be really good. Then he struggled out of the gate. Some people wrote off the Rangers goaltending, and now Shesterkin looks really good again. So there was an early power play for the Capitals in this, and they score. It's TJ Oshie from Backstrom and Carlson at 2:23. And then Dowd, he scores from Hathaway and Dillon at 4:22, and they reviewed that goal to make sure it was a good one, and it was. So, yeah. In fact, the shots were 9-0 in favor of the Capitals 8 minutes into this. Didn't even look like the Rangers were there. Then there's a too many men on the ice call, which gives the Rangers a power play, and whether that sparked them or not, I don't know, but Hedl did at 15:36. He gets a goal to make it 2-1. In the last minute, there was a power play for the Rangers. So we go to the second. Not a lot happened in that second period. Comparatively speaking, with other games that were going on, this one was just kind of there. The shots were 1-1 at 4 minutes. Lafreniere had a really good chance. It was denied by Vanacek. The Caps would get a power play. It didn't succeed. And, yeah, after that first power play got that goal, the rest of their power plays were not successful. We go to the third period. The Rangers had never won a game this season when trailing after 2 periods. So that goes on the board. There's a press by the Capitals at 3 minutes. Again, they're up 2-1. All they need is that one more goal. Kakko, however, scores from Strome and Panarin at 4 minutes and 10 seconds. So that ties it up. And then Fox scores from Panarin and Lindgren at 6 minutes and 32 seconds. All of a sudden, the Rangers are up 3-2. And then I think it was Zibanejad that turned it over to Ovechkin in his own zone, and I was like, "What are you doing? Don't turn it over to that guy. Just that's the last play. I don't care if he called for it. I don't care how many goals he's got. No, I can get an assist on one of his goals. No, you can't. You're on another team." So they survived that. Then there was a post for Backstrom as the Capitals pressed to try to get the tie, and I was fully expecting the tie to happen because the Capitals have been playing really well, but Panarin scores from Smith at 15:41. That makes it 4-2. So they pulled the goalie with 2 minutes left. Things get kind of scrummy with 1 minute and 10 seconds left. The Capitals emerge with a power play. But the empty net goal is Buchnevich from Lindgren at 19:25. And then after that, Tom Wilson, who had been agitated the whole game, I think it was Lindgren he was mixing it up with, and he just loses it. So they sent him off the ice. And all I could think was about how that argument occurred over them trading Lemieux and how, well, you know, the next time they're playing against Washington, they don't have any tough guys. They don't have anybody that can stand up for themselves the next time they play the Caps. They did pretty well. I'm not saying Brendan Lemieux can't do it. I'm just saying the Rangers acquitted themselves pretty well tonight, and they win this one 5-2. They go to 16-15-4 to keep their playoff hopes alive. The Capitals dropped to 23-8-4. So the Rangers both did something to help themselves and to kind of help the Bruins out a little bit too. And of course, the Bruins are the team they're chasing. 3 stars in this one: Panarin, Shesterkin, and Kakko. Kakko's been getting better. I know the goals aren't showing it yet, but Kakko's been getting better. Shots: Washington 12-10 in the first, 10-6 in the second in favor of Washington, and then the Rangers outshoot them 11-10 in the third. Final shots were actually 32-27 for Washington. Power plays 1 for 3 for Washington, 0 for 2 for the Rangers. Hits 19-14 for the Rangers. Blocked shots 13-11 for the Rangers. Vanacek saves 22 out of 26. Shesterkin saves 30 out of 32. Pretty decent night for Shesterkin and for the Rangers. And so, yeah, their playoff hopes, they're still there. They still have a chance. As faint as that may seem to some, I still think they'd be very dangerous if they got in. Next up, Columbus. So, this is a weird game in that I don't know that Columbus necessarily played well, but their goaltender outplayed the goaltender at the other end of the ice. And there were a lot of games that went this way for Columbus last year, where they might have got outplayed, but thanks to Korpisalo or Elvis, they won the game because their goaltender was lights out. And tonight, they needed that because Tampa Bay honestly played a pretty good game, and you could see how frustrated they were as this game went along. Early chances for the Bolts. Elvis making saves. Get used to that. Shots were 4-0 in favor of Tampa at 5 minutes. In fact, Columbus didn't have a shot in the first half of the period. And all I could think was, you guys need this game. You need to stay in the hunt. You know Nashville's red hot. If you're going to stay in the hunt, you're going to need to win some games here. And with no shots in the first half of the period, it looked like we were going to see another rather dull game by Columbus. McElhinney denied Foligno, and Columbus did wake up in that second half. And then Werenski hits the post before the period's out. But it's scoreless after one, so we go to 2. In the second period, the Bolts press. They draw a penalty. They don't score on that power play. They get chances at around the 6-minute mark, and Hedman crashed into the boards and exited. He would come back, but when Hedman goes down, all Bolts fans are like, wait, we're already out Chernak, we're out McDonough. If we're out Hedman too, we're done. And again, compact schedule. We'll see which team survives at the end of this. Bjorkstrand would score, however, from Werenski and Roslovic at 10 minutes and 49 seconds. So it was 1-0 Columbus, despite Tampa having all kinds of opportunities. Hedman would return shortly after that. Elvis really looked to be stealing this one at that point in the game. Shen was denied. Puck goes the other way, and in the last minute, Savard. He scores from Texier and Foligno at 19 minutes and 28 seconds. So it's 2-0 in favor of Columbus going to the third period. And I thought, they're probably going to do this because Elvis is going to steal it. There were early chances for the Bolts. Eventually they get one. It's Joseph with a nice tip in front of the net on a shot by Shen at 4 minutes and 12 seconds. But even with that, Elvis was really playing one of the best games he's played all season. Merzlikins was fantastic. Shen had a point shot that was snagged. They pulled the goalie with about 2 minutes left. Elvis denied Stamkos. Absolute ripper by Stamkos that's denied. With 1 minute and 54 seconds left, Tampa Bay calls a timeout. And it doesn't work out for them. Atkinson hits the empty net from Foligno at 18:29. So that makes it 3-1. Tampa was clearly upset on the bench. They fall to 24-9-2. Columbus 14-15-8 with the victory. And again, they need it because Nashville's hot. Chicago looks to be waking up and getting themselves together. And Dallas is a team. They exist. And they're real. And we'll talk about Dallas soon. I can't wait. 3 stars, Merzlikins, Hedman, and Werenski. Hedman on there because he came back when he hurt his knee. Just fans are like, let's put him in the 3 stars. I know he played well. I'm just saying. Thank God he's not hurt and he's not out. Columbus was outshot throughout the game. 7-4 in the first period. 20-11 in the second period. Tampa Bay, in periods where they have 20 shots, it's happened twice. Against Dallas, they got 1 goal, and here tonight they got none. It's weird. And then in the third, they outshot Columbus 11-6. Final shots 38-21 for Tampa. So again, it's not that Columbus played a great game. It's just their goaltender was better. The only power play belonged to Tampa. Just the one. They didn't score on it. Merzlikins, 37 saves on 38 shots. And McElhinney saved 18 out of 20. I'm not going to put this on McElhinney. It's just, Merzlikins was that good. That being said, it's now time to change boards. All right, next up, Detroit. Well, thanks for coming out, Detroit. This one was kind of over early, so while we had the Montreal-Edmonton game that had no tension in it, this one didn't either. And yet, there was a lot that happened here. Calvin Pickard's fun run is over. Huberdeau scored from Marchment at 17 seconds. That's how long it took for them to score on Pickard. Fabry had a nice shot that was saved. Then Huberdeau was denied. The Panthers get a power play. That was actually killed off, but then Verhaeghe continues the amazing run he's been on from Duclair at 11:27. And then less than a minute later, Connolly scores to make it 3-0 from Forsling and Wenberg at 12:25. So that's the end of Pickard's night. Greiss goes in. Greiss played really well. The problem is Detroit doesn't score when Greiss is in the net. It's like a 1.6 per 60 minutes. That's how many goals he gets. People are like, he sucks. Yet they don't score when he's in the net, so that doesn't help. Late Panthers power play, that was killed off. We go to the second. The Wings get a power play. That didn't work, but they did get another one. That one did. Zadina scores from Larkin and Rasmussen at 7 minutes and 29 seconds. And then there was some nice back and forth after. Nice back and forth chances, which led to Verhaeghe getting his second of the game from Tippett at 12-11. Where did this goal scoring for Verhaeghe come from? This is, honestly, if Brisebois had known, if Julien Brisebois had known just how much Verhaeghe was, if he'd known this was something he was capable of, there's no way that Tampa wouldn't have found a way to keep him. I understand they knew he was a good young forward. This is absolutely ridiculous scoring from him. Bobrovsky then denied Glendening. The Wings get a power play. That was a no. Duclair then crashed into the boards, and he exited, and it was his left shoulder. You could see the trainer on the ice grabbing at the shoulder. It's his left shoulder, and so he didn't return to the game. Then with 4.7 seconds left, the Panthers go to the power play, but now they're down Barkov, and they're down Hornquist and Ekblad, and now Duclair's out. It's getting kind of dicey in Florida. Third period, the Wings killed off the remainder of that power play. They announced then that Duclair wouldn't return. The Panthers net crashed at around the halfway mark. There was a power play for the Panthers, and then with 6.5 minutes left, the Wings get a power play. They did pull the goalie because they're optimistic, so kudos for the optimism, but they lose 4-1. So Florida goes to 23-9-4. Detroit drops to 12-21-4. They're not making the playoffs, but hey, they're fun to watch. Verhaeghe, Bobrovsky, and Huberdeau, the 3 stars in this. Shots 11-10 Florida in the first, 18-9 Detroit in the second period. Good second period for Detroit. 13-8 Florida in the third. Final shots 36-33 for the Wings. Power plays, both teams had 4. Detroit scored once. Florida didn't. So for Detroit, there's some good news out of this. Their penalty kill came up big. Pickard allowed the 3 early goals, and that's basically the difference. Hits were 29-26 for Florida. Block shots 14-11 for Detroit. Pickard saved 5 out of 8. Greiss saved 24 out of 25. And Bobrovsky saved 35 out of 36. So, yeah, Greiss was good as a replacement, but the damage had already been done by that point. So, that's how that goes. Chicago. So, this game was fascinating. This is one of the best games I've seen a team play against Carolina. And yet, the shots were 2-1 in favor of Carolina in this. So, it was part really, really smart play by Chicago and part Kevin Lankinen is back to being fantastic. So, remember a couple weeks ago when he was down and there was even, maybe they should bring up Delia. Nah, I don't think so. So the Canes get an early chance. Lankinen made some huge saves early. Little did we know that was going to be the case for the entire game. Shot attempts were 9-1, 4 minutes in favor of the Canes. The Hawks press at 6.5 minutes. They would get a power play. That was unsuccessful. And coming out of the first period, it was scoreless. And if you're Chicago, you had to kind of feel good that it was scoreless because they hadn't played a great period. Second period, 29 seconds into the second period, Dylan Strome scores from Doc and Murphy. So for Doc, that's his first point in his return to the lineup. Then they get a power play, and to their credit, they score. It's DeBrincat from Kane at 4 minutes and 2 seconds on the power play. How many times have we heard DeBrincat scores and Kane is one of the guys with the assists? It's been a lot. The Hawks then hit a post. It was almost 3-0 at that stage. I think it was Janmark hit the post. The shots were 4-3 Hawks 9 minutes in. The Canes got a power play. It had opportunities, but it gets killed off. Then Svechnikov makes it 2-1 from Shea and Trocheck at 15:41. But we come out of this period, and the stat that just seems weird this far into the season, this is only the 4th time all season that the Carolina Hurricanes have trailed after 2 periods of hockey this year, showing just how consistent they've been, just how good they've been. So, third period, no shots at all in the first 5 minutes. As Chicago says, we're just going to muck up the middle of the ice, and good luck getting shots. The Canes, also, when they did get chances, they were from the outside. The shots were 3-1 in favor of the Canes with 9 minutes left. So, in 11 minutes, they've only got 3. Chicago only has 1, but they're not trying to put up a bunch of shots. They're just trying to keep the Canes to the outside. The Hawks were doing their job to play the trap. And not only that, they ragged the puck with 4.5 minutes left as if they were killing a penalty. And while, I like high opportunity games, that was fascinating to me, just watching them and how they were basically killing the clock. And Carolina, wasn't much they could do about it. Hagel had a chance, just couldn't get to the net. The goaltender gets pulled with 2 minutes and 20 seconds left, and Rod Brindamore calls a timeout. But the Canes couldn't get set up. They were unable to get into the Chicago zone and set things up. Chicago just kept dumping out. They didn't care if they iced it. Not a big deal. If we ice it 7 or 8 times, that's fine. We've got plenty of time to rest before the next faceoff, and then we'll ice it again. It worked. Chicago wins 2-1. They go to 17, 15, and 5. Carolina drops to 23, 8, and 3. So Carolina loses, Tampa loses, Florida wins. Tightens that race up at the top of the division yet again. So the 3 stars in this one, DeBrincat, Lankinen, and Strome. Normally when it's a 1-goal game, I'd be like, well, it shouldn't all be from the same team. In this case, yes. DeBrincat with the game-winning goal on the power play. Lankinen was fantastic, and Strome had the other goal. So, yeah. Shots in this one favored Carolina the entire way. 13-5 in the first, 12-7 in the second, and 7-4 in the third. Final shots, 32-16 for Carolina. Power plays, Carolina 0 for 1. Chicago 1 for 2. Chicago was smart. They stayed out of the box. The only penalty was by Zadorov. Blocks or hits were 28-27 Chicago. Block shots 19-8 for Chicago. So shot blocking was a big part of the game for them too. Nedeljkovic 14 saves on 16 shots. Lankinen 31 saves on 32 shots. And yeah, it looks to me like Lankinen's adjusted his game after the players adjusted to him, and he's ahead of the game again. So great game for Chicago, and this race for 4th place in the Central is going to be interesting because Nashville, they find their way, don't they? Are they on a run yet? Because it sure feels like they are, and for Dallas, it's double digits in all three categories. It takes a special team to get double digits in wins, losses, and overtime losses in 33 games. I mean, it's three above the minimum that you like. That's just, they should be doing press conferences on how you get 11 wins, 12 losses, and 10 overtime losses in 33 games. Early chances were for the Stars. In fact, Dallas had a very good first period. They played so well. Strong early play. The Predators press at 6 minutes. However, Saros denied Hintz when the puck went the other way. Roope Hintz had a very good game. First half favored the Stars, but the score is 0-0. And Saros then denied Gurianov. So we come out of the first period, it's scoreless. Dallas had a lot of the really good opportunities. UC Saros is shutting them out. This looks familiar. Second period. Icings for both teams in the first minute, so a little bit tentative to start. However, while things were scrambly those first few minutes, Saros denied Faksa, and the Stars pressed after that, and then they get the goal. It's Robertson from Gurianov and Heiskanen at 6 minutes and 12 seconds. Not too long after that, Nashville has a 2-on-0. Grimaldi was stopped, in part because it was Harper that was with him on that, and Harper kind of bungled it just a little bit, so by the time Grimaldi gets it, it's easier for Hudobin to make the save. The Predators then get a power play. To their credit, they score on it. It's Josi from Järnkrok and Tolvanen at 9:04. So it's 1-1. Roope Hintz on the ice, tries to answer right away. Stars then get a power play, and they score on their power play. So Dallas's power play, which has been hot and cold, maybe it's heating up again. And it's Roope Hintz that gets the goal in the power play from Heiskanen and Klingberg. So Heiskanen with a couple of helpers, and that goal came at 11:02. Trenton almost answered right after that. So it's a nice game of tit for tat, back and forth. And we go to the third period with Dallas in the lead. So Josi was denied early. Hudobin then robbed Arvidsson, and then Järnkrok scores from Cunnin and Granlund at 4:05. Nashville's very good in the third period. They score a ton of goals in the third period. I've done videos where I've talked about it. It is the best period for them, and tonight it came through for them again. The Stars press at 6.5 minutes. Hudobin then denied Cunnin. Saros stopped Ben as the Stars pressed. The Preds had a 2-on-1. Granlund was stopped during that. Saros then stopped a good chance for Heiskanen. The Stars were controlling it with 4.5 minutes left. They had opportunities. Saros just kept saying, no, I don't think so. Kind of surprised Saros didn't get a star, to be honest. Crossbar then for Cunnin with 1 minute and 40 seconds left. We go to overtime. The Preds would control it early. Ekholm had a chance to shot wide. Dallas had it. And then Gurianov just didn't work. And then the first shot overtime goes in. It's Tolvanen for Nashville from Arvidsson and Carrier at 1 minute and 28 seconds. And they win 3-2 in overtime. As I said, Dallas, very special record, 11, 12, and 10. Take a bow, guys. And for Nashville, 19, 17, and 1. They are now 2 games above 500. They are right there with Chicago. And, of course, Columbus won tonight as well. So, yeah, it's... But at least they're only one game below 500 in Dallas, right? Anyways, 3 stars, Tolvanen, Yarncroke, and Yossi. Your shots, 13-7 Dallas in the first, 13-7 Dallas in the second, 11-9 Nashville in the third, and they had the only shot in overtime. Final shots, 35-26 for Dallas. Both teams went 1-for-1 on the power play. That's efficiency. Blocks, 28-23 for Dallas, or hits were 28-23 for Dallas. Block shots were only 10-6, but in favor of Nashville. Hudobin saves 23 out of 26. Saros saved 33 out of 35. The guy's a star killer. It's just what he does. And tonight, he did it again. Even though Dallas had the 2-1 lead, they snag a defeat from the jaws of victory. And there you go. So it's another game where Dallas probably outplayed the opposition, and they managed the loss. So there you go. You guys are all caught up on what happened tonight. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.